r/datingoverthirty. Ladisnowble2 says, how to deal with the feeling of being pressured to meet up with people on apps. I 32 female, have rejoined the apps and kinda forgot about this experience I have. I've been on so many Subreddit dates in the past which were a complete waste of my time, not so much due to a lack of connection/attraction, but weird or inappropriate behavior from the date. Some of these dates have been an annoying waste of time, and on some I have felt extremely uncomfortable and unsafe. This time around I'm trying to be more assertive early on in hopes that this can potentially reduce the likelihood of this happening. On top of this, I face another issue. Like most women, I get a lot of matches/men interacting with me, and due to my history it takes me time to suss out whether I feel there's enough of a connection early on before meeting. Unfortunately I feel men try and push to meet up quite early, and they get frustrated when I tell them that I won't be free for a week or a couple of weeks. I'm quite time poor, but would be willing to make myself more available if I met someone I connected with. I'm also often not sure if I want to meet up with them, so I will leave them on read after they ask me out because I'm undecided if I'm interested enough to meet up. This behavior is something I want to stop doing. Men will also frequently double/triple text if I don't respond fast enough, which can stress me out. This in turn makes me anxious about messaging back, and I'm often met with passive-aggressive messages from people I've never met about how disappointed they are in me ghosting them etc. These types of early interactions make me feel super overwhelmed and less willing to engage in conversations with men who message me on these apps because they can often get super intense/start coming on really strong with a barrage of messages/questions. The moment I reciprocate interest in talking, I also don't have the emotional bandwidth to nicely reject their advances, so I often find myself not responding or just still unmatch when they're being really excessive. I know this isn't a very kind way to go about it, and I wish I could respond better. Note, I'd never do this to someone I've gone on a date with. My ideal situation is where a guy shows interest in chatting to me, but has his own thing going on too and there is no urgency to respond really fast before meeting. Eventually after some casual, light-hearted chatting either of us will suggest a date, we agree to set something up when we're free, and we take it from there. Hopefully he is normal and stable when meeting, and the date goes well. How can I assert myself with overeager men on dating apps to prevent getting so overwhelmed, but also not be an asshole about? Imaginary Refuse 8108 says, can sort of relate, but I'm more of a set the date/get off the app sooner kinda gal. What if you schedule the date a few days, maybe up to 1-1.5 weeks out, and chat a bit in the meantime? If you get creepy vibes/loose interest, you can always let them know you're no longer interested in meeting. Also agree with the advice to match in smaller batches. Stop once you have 5 matches, make some decisions, and don't match anyone else until you've said/gone on dates or unmatched the 5. Mind Game says, as a guy that also likes to chat a little bit more before meeting up, I would definitely agree with what others have said here. Make that clear in your profile. It's so refreshing when I see that in people's profiles, because I feel like I can take it at my own pace when I'm chatting with someone I like. Otherwise, when I like someone and am enjoying getting to know them over the app, I feel a lot of pressure to ask them out because some people will think you aren't interested and are just wasting their time if you don't ask to meet up soon when there's a connection. That being said, judging from my friends, it seems like the guys that are more on the shy/anxious/nerdy/not the cool kids in high school types tend to agree with wanting to take their time chatting on the app. The guys I know that are the opposite are the types to ask a girl out after 10 messages or so. Depending on what you're looking for, you might unintentionally filter out a lot of guys that are your type by making it clear that you prefer to spend a little more time chatting on the app before meeting up. Flashy_plankton 7974 says, my experience on old exactly. The only thing that helps me is literally only swiping until I get a match and then stopping. And just doing that one convo. Most of the time I still end up feeling overwhelmed because that's how I am, but at least I'm not fielding conversations from multiple people at once, which is sure to make me just close the app and say, frick it. Starks9 says, in some cases men often do this because they get a high number of scams and fake profiles, so to prevent them from wasting their time they move fast with meeting in person. Charlie So says, I'm a woman and I also prefer to meet people within a week of matching if there is chemistry. However, I've had a few people request FaceTime with work for me as well. r/datingoverthirty. Citychick322 says, need advice on what this guy could have been thinking when he asked me this question. I have been sleeping with a guy for over a year. We are not officially together for several reasons, but we are very close and neither of us has been sleeping with anyone else in this time frame. Earlier this week, after one of our hookups, out of nowhere and the first time this ever came up, he asked me what I would do if I got pregnant. I'm actively on birth control because we are not officially a couple and he has made it clear he doesn't want that. I immediately said I would likely go to Planned Parenthood. It seemed like that wasn't the answer he was hoping for. We discussed it briefly, and the way the conversation ended, I asked him if he would want me to tell him if I was pregnant, and he said yes, so we left it at let's cross that bridge if we ever get there. I know I need to discuss this with him, but he isn't available for a couple days and my mind is racing, mostly due to the timing of the question. Until I have the chance to talk to him myself, could any men or women, if you have been in this situation before, offer up some possibilities of why this would come up out of nowhere now? Update, we talked this morning. He said that his purpose of bringing it up was purely logistical, since we had never discussed it previously. A lot of assumptions have been made in the comments, some very valid. I will just say I'm glad we talked, and am glad that was his answer. I'm ready to move past this, and not give it a second thought. Zahartcut says, I think this is a topic that should have been covered long before a year passed. Slight following 728 says, it could have simply been a form of post-nut clarity, it could simply be an oh shit, what would we do moment, and he said it out loud instead of to himself. Llama Librarian says, isn't this just a normal conversation that two people having regular sex that could lead to pregnancy should have? Why haven't you brought this up yet? Rustin_Cohill35 says, he could be trying to baby trap you. Yes, men do this too. There are a lot of guys who love the idea of having a kid, but no interest in marriage or raising one, so this would freak me out a bit as someone staunchly child-free by choice. Fabe88 says, sorry, but how are you 100% sure he's not sleeping with anyone else at all? He's single, sleeping with you casually, which he could end at any time he'd like. Road to Health says, some men want a baby, but not a relationship. Hooplaho says, he may have recently had a scare with someone else, which is why he brought it up with you too. Livern_and_Shirley says, the strangest thing isn't that he asked, it's why this hasn't come up before. Is there a reason you have not brought it up? This is something that should be discussed fairly early on with anyone you are sleeping with regularly. As the one with the uterus, I bring it up because it's my choice, and I present it that way so it's clear. I tell them, hey, just so you know, if I got pregnant I would head to Pages ASAP. They can decide if they want to be told, but that's about it. Sobidat's Nazinane says, I have been sleeping with a guy for over a year. We are not officially together for several reasons, but we are very close. Do you wanna tell her or should I? r/datingoverthirty. Ladisnaubl2 says, I'm anxious that I overreacted and ruined a good thing. Can this be rectified? I've, 32, been dating guy, 31, for a little over a month now. Things were going so well, and he seemed really into me. He had been chasing me for some time, months, but I wasn't really in a place to date then, and it took me some time to come around. However, once I did come around, our connection came really easy in a couple of weeks, and he told me that he thought I was a really special person and the most gorgeous woman he's ever seen. I dunno, I just felt so comfortable with him to open up and be myself, and I really felt so appreciated as I'm in every way. Just recently, we had a really amazing date, and afterwards I told him that being around him gives me butterflies, and he responded saying that this made him smile so big that hearing me say that makes him so happy, and he felt exactly the same towards me. He's been assigned to work overseas for a month, and we agreed to keep in touch over video calls. About a week in, he messaged me asking if I was free to do a call in 10 minutes time. I was out of the house, but I told him I'd be free in an hour when I got back home, and we agreed to do a video call then. I headed home, and an hour later I sent him a message saying I was ready for our call when he is. It was 1 PM for me, and it would have been 7 PM for him. I waited 45 minutes, and at that point I was feeling a bit dejected because he hadn't responded, and after 45 minutes he messaged me saying he was driving and asked if we could do the call the following day. I told him I was busy all day, which I was, but maybe we could do it some other time, and he said no worries and to let him know when I'm free. He also told me that he missed me, which he'd tell me every day. At that point I was feeling upset with him, even though I didn't want to be, and didn't want to come off as being hostile / passive aggressive through my tone in future discussions, so I straight up told him that I felt disappointed that he didn't show up for our call when he said he would, and I didn't like being kept waiting. He then apologized, saying he didn't know he had been keeping me waiting, and that he wasn't avoiding me, and that he loves talking to me. I told him that it was okay, and thanked him for clarifying, saying that I do enjoy talking to him too. I just didn't expect this to happen, but I understand this was a misunderstanding, and not to sweat it. He didn't say anything in response to this, and acted like nothing had happened. For the last week he has been quite short and distant and takes ages to reply back, which isn't at all like before. He also doesn't tell me that he misses me anymore. I'm respecting his space, so I don't feel inclined to bring it up or push it further, as I worry he might think I'm smothering him or being too intense / putting on too much pressure on him too soon. Did I perhaps overreact and push him away? If so, how could I rectify this? Update: I don't know if this was the wrong thing to do, but I ended up messaging him right after posting this. I apologized for dragging it on, but told him that things have felt quite different from me than before, and I wanted to make sure I didn't say or do anything to ruin a good thing due to the earlier miscommunication. I have no idea if this was a good idea or how he will respond. I just feel the need to be straightforward and open with my feelings. The message has been on scene for an hour now, but has probably just busy with work. Eugen 2009 says, I don't feel like you did anything bad. Maybe something else happened with him. Interested Swark says, these are problems that come up when some we are dating is away from us. Sounds like you just have to wait till his work isn't busy and the two of you have free schedules to chat. No need to message again till he gets in touch. Background Cola Zero says, he definitely should have communicated his tardiness before it became an issue. But if everything else so far in your relationship has been good, then I reckon it's worth it to give him the benefit of the doubt before saying I didn't like being kept waiting. That line is indeed off-putting, even if he's at fault here. If this was a repeating issue though, it'd be completely justified. So, yes, you were harsh, but of course it's up to you where you want to draw the line on such problems. Edit. I agree with some other commenters that letting him know you waited a while, but with a softer approach, would have been a good way to communicate it. Iglesigal says, I don't think you overreacted, you just reacted. You're not wrong to be disappointed, as long as you're not holding on to that, which feels like you're not. Also, it's amazing that you sent him that message instead of playing games. If such a trivial disagreement has shifted his behavior, then reconsider if you're willing to be with this guy long term. Also, consider that your instinct is telling you something here, and it's triggering your anxiety. Up to you on whether that's founded on his behavior or your own insecurity. Carilliot says, the thing that stands out to me here is the contrast in his behavior before and after you asserted a boundary. It sounds like prior to this event he was consistently showering you with attention and affection, and then withdrew the attention once you called him out on his behavior. To me this sounds like it could indicative of lover bombing followed by discard behavior. I highly recommend researching both of those to see if any of it resonates with your experience. You may just be seeing behind the veil, so to speak, on potential grooming for emotional or other abuse. I won't be surprised if someone downvotes this for characterizing his affection towards you as love bombing, but the way you described his behavior, especially his use of superlatives, is worth maybe taking a closer. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.